Equity and patient outcomes are both topics Pierre Theodore knows a lot about. He is the Vice President of Global Public Health at Johnson & Johnson. Earlier, I asked him what's being done about the lack of medicine and access to state-of-the-art care in many countries around the world.
Tatiana, such an important question, and there are so many factors that go into health and equity at present. Everything from supply chain limitations to historical legacies of disadvantage that make it very difficult in certain circumstances to get drugs and devices to patients who need them the most. And pharmaceutical companies have a very important role to play in overcoming those barriers. Everything from how we think about R&D, to the manufacturing, to how we market and commercialize products.
So in Africa, for example, there's a real lack of clinical trials being done there. Can you tell us a little bit about what is happening to change that, not only on that continent, but in other countries around the world?
Well, driving improved access to clinical trials doesn't happen spontaneously. So for our business, it really does require a focused, specific effort in making sure that we try to develop clinical trials in lower resource settings. For example, you mentioned sub-Saharan Africa. So when we think about disease states like tuberculosis or HIV, making sure that we are creating partnerships that allow us to launch clinical trials in which there is a broad level of diversity across all of our efforts.
So a huge conversation at this conference is happening around the issues of diversity, equity, inclusion. In the seat where you are an example of that. How important is that to you, and what does that mean to the people who are watching you?
Well, you know, on the one hand, there's the adage that in order to be it, you have to see it. But I also think that there's an overlap between what we're trying to achieve in terms of diversity in the ranks of those that are engaged in biopharmaceuticals, but also the equity that we're trying to drive in the populations that we serve. So I actually think of them as, in a sense, two interrelated issues as we drive diversity in the industry, allowing us to be a more equitable healthcare sector.